Wonderful. So welcome to the family gathering of April. Today's subject is the national minimum wage, which is a very important subject. And Hans will be giving us more information in terms of how to comply. Thank you. Over to you, Hans.
Arno, good day. Thank you to all our members out there. Thanks a lot for attending this family session. As Arno mentioned, it's not one of the easiest topics to talk about, but it is one of the most important topics to talk about. We all are aware of the fact that the minimum wage changed on the 1st of March, and all of us, all the schools must therefore comply. So, as Arno mentioned, what can we do to comply and afford it? Because the problem is, if the department visited your school and you are not paying the minimum wage, then they will come with a what you call it, there's a fine against the school, and that is what we don't want to see. So what we from SA Childcare want to do, we want to assist you people and to make sure that you just one step ahead. So the important thing is, there's three very important things that I would like to highlight. Is the first thing is, obviously the school must comply. Secondly, the school must afford, and thirdly, the employees must be treated fairly. That's the three most important things. Now, looking at that, how can we do it? How can we achieve all three those points? Our suggestion is, and we have discussed it with a few of our schools, owners of our schools, is to all our teachers, leave them on a monthly basis. Pay them on a monthly basis. They monthly paid, as we call it. And all the rest, all your assistants and your chefs and all the other people, maintenance people, and what we pay on an hourly basis. Now, why that? It is important to make sure then that they work the number of hours that the school can afford, but that's also according and in line with the minimum wage. Let me take an example. If an assistant work, say, 8 hours a day, it will bring you to plus minus 176 hours per month. If you multiply that by the minimum hourly rate, which is 25.42, then it gives you an amount per month. Now, what we want to achieve is, we want to pay them as close to the amount that they're currently earning, because if you implement the hourly thing and you pay them hourly, you cannot pay them less than what you are paying them at this moment in time. So what we suggest you people to do is the following. We've got the two types of contracts. We've got the permanent contract and we've got the temporary contract. Now, Arno will show you, and he will put it on. We put an addendum together. So when you want to change this, you don't change the contract of the employee. You just put an addendum in place and you change the two issues appropriate, which is, one is the basic rate, and secondly, the hours of work. This addendum makes provision for those two issues. But before implementing and getting the employees to sign this addendum, one must first go and sit with your staff and discuss the whole thing with them. Why do we change the hours? Why do we change the minimum rate? Because they must know that. If they know that, they will understand why is the change there and the addendum put in place. So what we will do is we will make the document available to you on those who have bought our toolkit. You'll see that it's Annexure B5, and there we address the 2 points. But I would just like to take some time what do you discuss with your people before they sign the document? surely it's important to explain to them that since the 1st of March, there's a minimum wage in place. And as a school, you must comply to that minimum wage. Secondly, the school must be able to afford the minimum wage, because they just cannot put the fees up for the parents. So they must be able to afford it. And then the way to do that is to say to them, we'll have to change from monthly to hourly, making sure that the 3 points, that we are legally correct, that the school can afford it, and that you as employees are not being robbed or not being unfair to. So that for now is the important thing that we as SA Childcare want to advise you to put in place. Because when the Department of Labor walks in, the first thing they're going to look at is, can you please give us your staff document? Who have you got in place, and what do you pay them? Then there's 2 things that's important. You either got to pay them the minimum monthly wage of 4,956 something, or you must pay them per hour, and you pay them the minimum hourly rate, 25.42. The moment that is in place, then you are complying. The school do that to make sure that they can afford it. And thirdly, the employees are being treated fairly. And that creates a win-win situation then for all the role players involved. I don't think I want to dwell too much on that. If there's any questions, Arno, I would rather spend more time on the questions than to say too much and to talk too much.
Right. If I could sum up, Hans, tell me if I'm correct in layman's terms, because let's say I'm an owner of an ECD center. I have staff obviously currently working for me. Some might be on a permanent basis, some not. But I would say, for this example, we would say the majority of my staff is employed on a permanent basis. They get monthly salary. But now with this minimum wage, I say, look, I'm only paying maybe for my assistants, maybe I'm paying 3,000 Rand, which obviously is not necessarily the minimum wage. So what you're saying is the following, if I understand it correctly. The addendum, which we have compiled, which I will, by the way, I will make it available on this chat. It's a link you can click. And also on the members WhatsApp group, I will send a PDF document on the WhatsApp, so you can just click on it and print it out. Okay. So what you're saying is then, irrespective of what contract I have with my staff at the moment, if they're earning less, if any staff member earns less than a 4.9, 4,900 something, if they earn less than that, then I take this addendum, which we are providing. You add the addendum to the current contract of the staff member. That addendum will then say, I will be paying you on a hourly rate, which is the 25 Rand, Hans, 25 Rand, how much? Per
42
hour?
cents.
Right, so the 25 Rand per hour. Then on that addendum, I will add the working hours. I don't pay for a lunch hour, is that correct, Hans?
That's correct.
Right, so that's not considered a working hour if there's an hour lunch. So then I only add the hours on the addendum, which is payable. Then when I do calculate the remuneration per month, so if I add the addendum, which I pay my staff now on an hourly basis, but I only pay it month in, right? So they're remunerated on an hourly basis, but they still get their salary or wage, if you like, at the end of the month. That's correct. Then gets calculated by using the hours that they have worked times the minimum wage. Excuse me. What the law requires, if I do that, and in the example I mentioned that an assistant maybe receives 3,000 Rand per month. If I use that calculation and I come to 2,800 Rand, then what the law says, I cannot pay less than that I paid previously. All right. So then it should be higher than the 3,000. But using this scenario and this example, it may be that for 3,300 Rand, for example, which obviously is a little bit more than what they have received, I will be able to comply in terms of what the Department of Labor requires in terms of the minimum wage using the hourly rate. So what you as an owner need to do, you need to go and calculate this hourly addendum when you add that with the hour rate. Go and calculate what's the total. If the total is a little bit more than what they currently earn, then you can use that, and then you fully comply to what the Department of Labor says. But if you work it out to be less, then you can either add hours to your assistants so that they work additional hours to get to a point where you at least pay what you have paid. You're just not allowed to pay less what you have paid. Now, in the example of teachers that might already earn over 4,900, this does not apply. They already earn over minimum wage, so you have nothing to worry about there. You are already paying more than the minimum of what the department requires. Then also, Hans, tell me, if it's a permanent employee earning more than minimum wage already, what is the amount of hours that I can legally, if you like, ask them to work for?
Okay, Arno, thank you so much. The basic conditions of employment is clear, that if a person is working monthly, then he's not allowed to work more than 195 hours per month. That's
for the same
legal.
salary.
For the salary. So it is for you as the owner of the school to make sure that you optimize the hours then to the best. So you can't say, but you're only working 140 hours and I'm paying you more than 4.9. So you must optimize. That's where also you were it's very important what you said, Arno, that those people who then earned more than the assistants, who earn more than the hours that you can afford, is to make the hours less. And between your staff, make sure that you can give the service to the clients, but on the other hand, comply to the law. That's very important. So, and the only way that at this time that we can do it is to say to our nursery school owners, pay hourly and work with your hours to make sure that you can afford, but also that people comply to law. And the people is unhappy. They're not getting less money, they're getting a bit more or the same. But the most important thing is you can afford it as a school. And the most important thing is you legally complying to the minimum wage.
Yes, thank you.
I hope I've answered you.
Yes, thank you very much. There's a few questions. I'm just going to run through all of them, Hans, and then we can quickly answer them. Some might be a repetition as well, but let's just go through all of them just for everybody's sake, because there is some people that came in a little bit later. What is the minimum hourly rate?
Okay, the minimum hourly rate is 25.42 Rand per hour.
Thank you very much. Next question. 4,900 Rand is for how many hours a week, please? All right, so Rachel, we're looking at the 4,900 and Hans, give me the amount, please. 4,900.
4956.55. 0.86, sorry. 4956.86.
Right. So if a person or a staff member earns above that, you're already complying to what the Department of Labor wants. So you don't have to worry about that. If they do earn over that, you can you can utilize them, if you like, for 190 hours. Am I correct?
195 hours.
Okay.
45 hours per week max.
You may utilize them. So what Hans are proposing, or what we're proposing, is to say that if by paying your assistants on an hourly rate, and you then calculate what you can afford, and it means that maybe your assistants will only be able to work for, let's say, 7 hours, then you can utilize your staff that's already earning above the minimum wage for additional hours, maybe to compensate or to still be able to open your ECD center for the same hours that you did. But now the full-time over minimum wage earners will step in a bit, and you will utilize them more, as to get to a point where you can pay your assistants minimum wage hourly rate, and your full-time already is over that, and they would then assist in terms of the additional hours.
Arno, if I just can come in, that's so important. There's two things important. What can you afford? And secondly, stick to the minimum wage. And by doing that, the school must do that, and everybody must bring their side and must add to make sure that the doors are open, the school complying, people are happy. That in a nutshell is what it's all about.
Yeah, so look, that's all from us, and that's what we brainstormed, and we thought, you know what can we do to, on the one hand, we know people can't necessarily afford to pay everybody minimum wage, and on the other hand, we need to comply with what legislation tells us, and this was the best that we could do. So the addendum, I put the link in the chat box. You can click on that link and it will take you to the addendum, which you can download, print out, and use that addendum to add to your current contract. So you don't have to do new contracts. If, however, you have not utilized the SA childcare contracts, we have the contracts, you are a member, and you can get those free of charge. So if you would like that, you can just go onto the website, and then you can go onto the HR portal, and then you can download the 2 contracts with this new addendum, and then you can do that. So what Hans said as well, remember, it's all about relationship with your staff and with your children and with your parents to make sure that the environment that you're creating in your ECD center is conducive to growth, and it's a loving environment and so forth. So a good idea would be not just to do this on your own. You actually need to speak to the employees and to say, look, guys, this is what's happening. This is the new minimum wage. This is the only way that we need to go to act for us to comply to what government wants. So we need to, as a team, this needs to be a team effort so that we can ensure the survival of our school, because we can't go the retrenchment routes or whatever you want to say. But keep open communication with your staff. Tell them this is the way to go and this is the way we can do it to comply. And that's why changes is coming. But it's key to protect your relationships. And then you will have, because at the end of the day, it's a win-win situation in any way for everybody. The next question here, Hans, is the lunch break included in working hours? No, it's not. It's not a payable hour. So lunch you can deduct from your payment. So in other words, if you have your hourly rate, which you pay, lunch is not payable for you.
Arno, just a thing there. If you want them to work during their working hours, then it becomes a payable thing. But normally, lunch hour is not payable. Thank you.
So what you're saying, if they take lunch in the lunch hour, that's not payable. But if you ask them to work through the lunch hour, then it's payable.
Then it's payable because then they work during the lunch hour.
Yes. Right. Last question that I have here, and if you have any other questions, you're welcome to put it on the chat box. The 4,500 was just an estimate of what somebody mentioned in terms of the minimum wage. But the minimum wage per month, if you have a monthly contract, is the 4,956 rands. But as we mentioned, and I know some of you only came in now, as we mentioned that we're going to move those that's earning less than that.
You just write and give it to him. That one you can
just mute your mics, please. Hold on, I'll mute. Right. So what we have mentioned is that if your staff are not on that benchmark of the 4.9, then you need to move them to the minimum wage of 25 rand something to an hourly remuneration contract, although you're still paying them month end. But the addendum that we have provided in the chat box, you use that to change then the way it's calculated so that they get paid the minimum hourly rate that government wants from us. There's another question. Can we assume that this is a gross figure, not net? Yes, that is correct. That is a
basic.
Okay. I don't see any other questions. So if you, oh, there you go. There's another one. Right. Do we have to give an hour for lunch? Currently, our contract state 15 minutes, combined morning tea with the kids, 30 minutes private lunch, unpaid, and then 15 minutes afternoon tea with the kids. The tea breaks are paid. Hans, is this okay?
Arno, yes, the law is clear that when it says that after 5 working hours, they're entitled to an hour lunch. What you can do is you can make the hourly lunch less, but at the end of the day, the employee must not lose. So if you build the other 2 in and it comes back to an hour, no problem. But the law is clear that after 5 hours work, the employee is entitled to an hour lunch. You can, like I said, you can change it, make it less, but at the end of the day, the employee must not lose. They must still, if it's coming later, leaving earlier, what, that you can do to suit your needs at the nursery school.
Okay, so the next question, thank you for that, Hans. Hopefully that was answered. Then the 195 hours, how much does that work out per day?
I know that is 45 hours a week, 9 hours per day.
All right, so it's 9 paying hours per day. So technically then a person could be at the ECD center for 10 hours, having an hour's lunch. So yes, hopefully that answers your question. Next one, can I rate 120 hours as an hourly rate? Agnes, if I understand what you're saying is that if a person only works 120 hours, that is correct, then you only remunerate 120 hours. If they are on a contract that says you get remunerated on an hourly basis, and that hourly rate then should be the minimum wage, which is 25 something, then yes, you can do that. So if your contract is currently remunerated on a monthly basis, then you need to change that using the addendum.
And I know the third thing is important, not less than what he or she is earning now.
Correct, yes. Thank you for that, Hans. Remember, you're not allowed to pay a person less than what they have earned when you do this new calculation. So it should be either the same or more. All right, Louise, if you paid hourly or if you pay hourly, does the normal leave and sick leave apply?
Yes, according to law, it's applicable. There's no change. Remember, it's just the hourly monthly rate thing, but the number of days and the leave and everything stays exactly the same.
Okay, so that means if they work for 5 days, if they're a 5-day worker, or they are allowed 15 annual leave days. Now, the annual leave days then would be worked out. Let's say, for example, your staff member, you change them now, they are on an hourly remunerated contract, although you pay them at the end of the month. What would then happen if they take a day's leave? Your average hours for that day is then what you would pay them for their leave day, which they need to get.
And what is captured in the contract, sorry, because there you capture the number of hours per day.
Correct. And that's on the addendum as well. Right, next question. I have an assistant. She works for 2 hours only in the afternoons and for 4 days. Do I comply?
It all depends. No matter how many hours she works, are you paying according to the minimum wage? That is, if she's working hourly, are you paying 25.42 plus per hour? Then you comply. And if it's then not less than what she earned before, then you comply. Because what the Department of Labor will do when they come to visit your school, they ask for an attendance register to see what was the number of hours worked. They will then ask for your payment thing and to check what you have paid and the hours that they worked. Is that 25.42 hours rand per hour or more? That's on the hourly basis. On a monthly basis, they will just check if he or she is remunerated monthly. Does he or she get more than 4,956 rand per month? And if you do that, then you comply to the minimum wage. All
right. So what is key here is that you need to have the correct contract. That is what is key. So if she only works for 2 hours in the afternoons for 4 days, that's perfect. But you need to have the contract that says she's remunerated on an hourly basis. That shows you're paying the 25 rand something per hour, irrespective of if you only paid month end, but you need the correct contract. So if you have the correct contract and she doesn't now suddenly earn less than what she have earned, then you're good to go. Next question. if you pay hourly rates, how will you calculate public holidays?
That's an interesting question, but it is so true. If the person who worked on a public holiday, he or she gets paid. If he or she is not working on a public holiday, he or she is not getting paid. Again, if you want them to work on the public holiday, then you will have to pay the salary times 2. So from a owner's point of view, it's the managing of the school now with the staff who's monthly earning already more than the minimum wage, using them and to make sure that at the end of the day, you achieve the 3 very important points: legally correct, cost can afford, and fair to the people. That's it.
Next question, thank you. I would also like to know, and then their half days, could you also deduct that then, or work it out like that? So they're not working 5 full days. I'm not too sure about that question. If you can maybe just rephrase, please, or Hans, do you have something to say about that?
I hope I understand them correctly. They're only working 5 days 5 hours per day and not the whole week. Then again, I will put him or her on hourly rate, and I will pay him or her for the hours worked. If he or she is working less than 5 hours, then there's no lunch appropriate. So I will again then just look at putting the right contract in place, let the people sign an attendance register, and at the end of the day, you comply by paying the people what is required by law and fair what they have worked for. And the last important thing is not less than what they earned before you put this thing in place. And if you do that, 100% compliance.
All right, next question. How many annual leave days do ECD practitioners are allowed to take? Sorry, leave that. How many leave days are ECD practitioners allowed to take? Okay,
let's have a look at the law. The law says there's 5-day workers and there's 6-day workers. If they're 5-day workers, they're entitled to 15 working days per year after the completion of a full year. If they are 6-day workers, means they're working from Monday to Saturday, then they are entitled to 18 working days per year by the completion of 1 year's service. That in a nutshell is what the law requires.
Thank you. And then if you work less than a year, it's calculated on a monthly basis. You take the 15 divided by 12, and that's what they earn per month. Is that correct?
And it works out to 1.25 per month roundabout.
Thank you. Next question. With us, they are at the school for 10 hours. Then we give 1 hour lunch break and 30 minutes tea break away from kids. So our monthly hours are 170 hours. Weekly, it's 42.5 hours. Is this lawful?
Hour-wise, working-wise, yes, that's lawful. It's 100% correct. It's less than 195 hours. You now just have to make sure that is he or she earning more than the required monthly rate from the minimum age or hourly rate. And if that's in place, 100%, then you comply on 100%.
All right, thank you. Will you send the form on WhatsApp? Yes, I will, Sharnay. I will send the form on the WhatsApp group. We give them, okay, next one. We give them 5 days paid leave during the year, and December holidays leave, they get full pay. All right. So yes, what as I understand it as well is that you qualify for the 15 days, but from of that 15 days, you must take 10 days consecutively. Hans, is that correct?
That's correct. They must take 10 days per year. And that's why the majority of schools are giving them 5 days during the year and then 10 days during the December recess. And then obviously it's paid holidays, so they are being paid in full.
Thank you. Next question. If they take lunch, should they sit elsewhere or can they sit by the children when they are sleeping?
That's a tricky question. If they sit with the children and stuff, are they not looking at the children? Are they not then working? Can the people not say, but I have worked my lunch hour? So what I will advise is to allow the people to go and sit at another place, have the lunch, come back and work. The problem is, how will you say, yeah, but you sat there, but you only watching, but you did not work? I mean, what is he or she doing by watching the children? And if the child wants to fell or something, must they just have a look and do nothing? Because the next thing is you're going to say, but you were there and you did nothing. So it is going to be a problem. My advice is rather put people that are substituting, and one teacher stand in for the other and do the control, and you on the one person, the one teacher or assistant who is entitled to lunch.
Thank you. If you guys could just mute your mics, please.
I hope that answered the question, Arno.
Yes, I think it definitely does. Right. So the next one. So if the school has a need for 8-hour employees but cannot afford it, what do you do? That's why we said, Agnes, is that on the one hand you've got, let's say, your assistants, and on the other hand your teachers. Now in this scenario, your assistants would maybe earning less than the 4,900, but your teachers might be earning 4,950 odd upwards. So what you then need to do to comply is you need your assistants to pay them the minimum wage at least for the hours worked. But then if they're short hours, meaning, let's say, for example, now you can only afford to pay them for 6 hours because of the minimum wage, then your teachers that's already earning over your minimum threshold, your monthly threshold, you then need to get them to say, look, guys, this is a team effort. We can't afford, to pay everybody this and that. So you then, as a monthly staff member already earning over the 4,950 odd threshold, then you need to step in and give us additional hours up to 195 hours, which is lawful. All right, so that is what we are saying, what will be able to work there.
Arno, can I come in there?
You are.
I think what they can also consider is to make 2 groups with the assistants. And let the one group come in for the early to a certain period, and then the other group comes in, take over till the end of the day. And by doing that, you cover the full time, but people are not working the 8 or 9 or 10 hours that you need people to be present. So that is also an option, is to take your people and have groups. The one group starts early 6, 7 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and the next group starts 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. And by doing that, but that is managing your staff complement in such a way that you can afford, but also giving the correct service to the clients and the learners out there.
Next question, just to confirm, if hourly paid, they don't get paid for public holidays. Let me jump in there. Yes, that in technically, they don't earn on the public holiday. That is correct. But remember, if you change and do your calculations now so that you adhere to the minimum hourly wage, it might be that instead of earning 3,000, they're earning now 3,300 Rand per month, which would in effect mean if there is a month with a public holiday, yes, they technically don't get money for that. And that at the end of that month, you will maybe then go back to about 3,000 for that month. So they're not getting paid, that is correct. But they're still earning the same or more than what they have earned. And that's where your calculations come in, and where you must play with your calculations so to make sure that you comply with the law. So it means they can't earn less than they have earned, but you pay minimum wage then on the hourly basis. Next one.
Arno, thank you. Can I just come in quickly there? That's
yes.
why you can't pay them less. So that they earn, because in the past they've earned money for their day and they earned a certain amount of money. Now they earn the same amount of money and more. So in a nutshell, they're also getting, like in the past, the money, and they're not getting less.
If I let staff be off extra on top of the 15 days leave, can that contribute to hours they worked extra? So what she's saying is, if I give them more than 15 days leave, can that be can that leave subsidize the extra hours that they've been working during the other days?
Looking at from a human point of view, you would say, yeah, it must. But look at the law. The law says he or she is entitled to 15 days leave. If you decide to give more than that, then you can't most deduct that now. Say, all right, I'm giving you more there. Now I'm taking some of your money. Then it's unfair. So what it means that our owners will just have to manage the situation very carefully and make sure the law says this is what we allowed to give the people, stick to it. Be correctly, because if you can't just stick on the leave side, but on the money side, you're not complying. That is unacceptable. So no, you can't do it. You can't say, but you are getting 10 days more, I'm going to deduct the money from a money point of view, from a salary point of view. That's not going to do the thing. Thanks, Arno.
Thank you. Next one, and we have 2 more questions, I believe, then we will finish off. We normally have 12:15 to 1 o'clock, so I want to stick by that. If your school can't afford to pay new teachers the minimum wage, can you change them to hourly, currently earning 4,500?
My answer will be yes, you can do it. That's why we say, how can we manage this thing? And if the teachers cannot get there, put them on hourly, explain to them why. Normally it's new people. Normally it's people who's on a temporary basis. The main thing is to sit with your staff and say, this is the situation. The school cannot afford it. However, I want to pay you the minimum wage and more. So yes, you can do it. Our suggestion and advice is to keep the teachers on a monthly payroll, but yes, if you can't afford it, you can put him or her on the hourly rate. But please, the important thing is to talk to your people, discuss it with the staff so that they exactly know what's going on. Why is things happening that way, and why is changes taking place? Thank you, Arno.
Last 2 questions, then we'll have to finish off, please. So then the next question is, if we train on Saturdays, we pay for the training, and do we need to pay the teachers for attending the training? That's the one thing, because we also provide food and cool drinks. So question is, Saturday trainings, which the ECD Centre already pays for, should they still pay the teachers as well, or the participants?
It is important that they will have to be at work. They are working, so yes, you will have to pay them the right amount, unless you work it otherwise. And move your training or do something else, time off or something like that, because that's also possible. Because if people are getting trained, you can consider time off, discuss it with them. If they are happy with it, then fine, you can do that.
Right, question, can December holidays be considered as annual leave? Yes, it can, but only not the public holidays in December. So if there's a public holiday, that's not your annual leave, that's a public holiday. But any other days that's not a public holiday in December, yes, can definitely be considered as annual leave. And remember what the law says, if you qualify for 15 annual leave days per annum or per year, 10 of those days must be consecutive, meaning they must take on one time 10 days. And normally, as we said, that happens in December in any way. So yes, the answer to your question is yes. Okay, there's a few more that sneaked in. You know what, officially, let's finish off. So you're welcome to leave. And I just want to say thank you for attending. This is a really interesting topic. This empowers you. This information that we give you empowers you a lot. As I said, if you have any questions, Hans at sachildcare.net, or you can phone the offices to speak to Hans. You are so welcome. That's part of your benefit. You do have it, and you're welcome to ask us questions. As I said also, that the document I already added in the chat box, and we will also add it into the WhatsApp groups. I just added it to the chat box again, so click on the link and you can download the addendum. All right, and then we'll do 2 more questions for those that's still here. 2 more questions, and this is, does the national minimum wage apply to both public? The That's those receiving government grants and private ECDs. Yes, it does. Last one, I give the employees off days during school holidays, fully paid, to help with us not needing to pay overtime. What is the minimum period allowed to do that? Hans, can I read that question to you?
You're welcome.
I give the employees off days during school holidays, meaning the ECD center is not necessarily closed, but it's school holidays, so they close and they give them that off days, which is fully paid, to help with us not needing to pay overtime. What is the minimum period allowed to do that?
Arno, thank you. I think I have answered this one before. I'm just going to rephrase it very quickly. The law says 15 working days per year. If you give more than that, that's up to you. But you can't give and then want and subtract it elsewhere and say, okay, but I gave you, now I'm going to take it away. You can't do that. The law is clear that if you're a 5-day worker, 15 working days, and it must be managed by the school and the employees to be acceptable to both the school and to the employees.
Okay, 10 consecutive days, that's the next. Thank you, Hans. The next question was the 10 consecutive days, does that include weekends? 10 consecutive days is 10 consecutive working days. Correct, Hans?
No, Arno, we must not be make a mistake here. It is, if you look at the law, it is 15 working days or 18 consecutive days per year for 5-day workers leave. Consecutive days mean all the days of the week. 15 working days is Monday to Friday. Okay, so if you look at working days, it is 15 working days. Consecutive days means the days in between. So it can be more, but the working 15 days referring to is 15 working days according to law.
Correct. Now, the question is the 10, because remember you qualify for 15, but 10 you must take at one time. So the question is that 10 that you must take at one time, does it include weekends as well, or is that 10 days, 10 working days, and the weekends does not count?
I think that it will be it will include consecutive days because it has got to do with time to rest. So if I give him or her 10 days leave, including the weekends, I think that will work.
Okay. I think that's all for now. Oh, last one again. Right. If you have a person that works 8 hours per week, 8 hours per day, 4 weeks per month, which then equates to 160 hours. Is it minimum wage or hourly rate? Then you know what, so I would suggest that if you take the 160 times 25, you would look at where do you get at. If you get at more than 4,900, you can rather make it minimum wage. But if your calculation is then less than the 4,900, you need to make it hourly to comply to what the labor law requires. All right.
That's 100%.
That makes sense. Right, everybody. Thank you. There's no further questions. So go and enjoy a good lunch. And then also with a long weekend, hopefully, I don't know, some schools are closed, some not. But if your school are closed, go and enjoy a nice off 5 days. Have a well-rested time. And then we will see you next month. Remember, it's the last Wednesday of every month. We'll see you next month, last Wednesday, same time, same place. Have a wonderful afternoon. Goodbye.
Thank you, Arno. Thank you to all our members. Have a great time. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.